Hello, I'm Chris, and this is Gross Models. Welcome to another Learn with Gross. This time I'm going to be trying to figure out how to use water. I've got some transparent water gel and water foam for dioramas, for an upcoming diorama I'm going to do. So I just want a small test piece just to see how it's going to work. So what I've got is some plasticard, which I've scored and I'm now breaking up. Basically, I'm just going to make a little box like that with another couple of ends, sides, just to go on there, just to give me something to mix in and paint and coloured paint and things, and see how I can get water effect to look. I'm going to glue these together using Tamiya cement. Don't know if it's obviously not going to be properly waterproof, but hopefully it'll be water gel proof. Once I get those glued together, I'll come back and we'll show you what I'm going to be doing. And there we have a tray, very crudely made, not measured at all, just put together, but it's not about doing anything special, it's just about testing. So I'm going to use some mahogany, just a dark brown paint. Now again, I'm not after anything neat, or so it's purely to test to see what happens, how it looks. So I'm just going to cover the base very roughly in the brown. I'll give it another coat in a little while, but as I say, it's really not about how it looks, it's about how it behaves and how everything comes together with it. So I'm actually not worried in the slightest about neatness or anything like that. So I'm just getting some colour down. I'll let that dry, then I will do another coat because I want a more solid base. Probably should have sprayed it, but there we go. Right, I gave in and used an airbrush to get a bit better coverage in there. So now I'm going to be using the transparent gel. Now I have read that the best way of doing this is to do thin layers and to colour the bottom layer. So I'm going to be using some green or some blue. What should I use? I'm going for a normal water effect, so I'll use a bit of blue in the bottom layer, I think, instead of the green. So I'm going to be opening this. Now this is a white paste that's quite thick, but it does dry clear. So what I'm going to do is basically just drop in some of this. I don't know how thick a layer to do, that's why I'm making this video, to experiment and try it and see what happens. So I'm just going to be putting in a bit more than that. It sort of smells like a PVA, Elmer's glue type thing. I think that'll probably do it. So I'm going to put in just a couple of drops of blue and one more spoon of that, just because I can. And then I'm just going to mix that in and around. I don't want it to be a solid blue colour, it's going to be transparent, but this being the bottom layer of the water, there's going to be a couple of layers of the transparent stuff on top. Hopefully this will give a sort of transparent blue base, which you should still be able to see the brown through, hopefully, and we'll see how it goes. Now it is, let's say, very thick, it's actually not really moving at all there, so in theory you could sculpt sort of waves and things onto that, but I'm going to leave it mostly level, just make sure it sort of covers all of the edges there. Actually I will give half of it some sort of texture just to see what difference that makes. Put in something sort of wave-like across half of it, and then leave the other flattish, just to test it and see how it's going to end up. Now, I've got no idea how long this takes to set. I'll have a quick look on the packet and see what it says. It's always nice to read the instructions before you open it and try it. So, it says, specifically developed to make moving shallow water. Drying time is dependent on the amount used. 24 hours is what we recommend. High quality acrylic product. Developed for extreme realism. Right, in layers of 0.1 to 3 millimeters. I've gone probably, a variation of 0.1 to about 3. Yeah, probably about 2 or 3 millimeters thick, the thick end. So, without realising, I've done it just about right. So, I'm going to put that aside. I will come back and have a look in a couple of hours or so, and we'll see if it looks any different, how it looks. But I'll be leaving it until, about a day's gone, and come back and we'll see how it looks, and then put another layer down. So, see you tomorrow. We're now 3 hours after the initial pouring, and it looks pretty much the same as far as I can tell. It's actually still soft and still white at the edges where I can see the white bits, and still the same blue. So yeah, I'm going to leave this for another 12 hours or more before I come back to it again. But yeah, you definitely have to leave it for a while. So, as I say, see you tomorrow. Well, that's 12 or 13 hours in, and it looks exactly the same, to be honest. I can't see any real difference. It's still soft. Actually, some of it's going a little bit lumpier, so it is getting there, but I'm not going to make you watch it all in real time, so I'll leave it for another few hours until something noticeable difference happens, and then come back to you. Well, that's now been just over 24 hours, and it's not dried yet. It's still a little bit rubbery, a little bit tacky. Some of it's dry, but some of it isn't. Now, some of it that was very thin has dried, the bits across the edges and everything I can feel as being properly set, but the rest of it isn't. So I'm going to leave it longer, leave it another day, and see. It might be that it was too thick, or that I'm not using it right, or that because I mixed the paint in, it's messed with it somehow, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I'll leave it. I'm hoping it would go more transparent than that. That's not the effect I'm looking for, so I might have to redo it and start again. But actually, looking at it at certain angles, I can see some of it does look more transparent than others. But so I'll leave it another day and come back and update you tomorrow. Well, this is now 48 hours from first applying it, and it's definitely getting there, but it's not there yet. I don't know if adding the paint has really affected it in a serious way, or if I was too thick, or I don't know. But some of it, that's solid, as is the bit next to it, but some of it is still a little rubbery. So once again, I'm going to leave it for another day, and then we'll see what happens. There's definitely something going on with it. It's different to how it has been, yesterday. And I'm not in any rush, so I'll leave it again and we'll see. So stay tuned. See you in a day. Right, I've left it longer than the 24 hours that they said. It's actually been basically 72 hours. I think that's as good as it's going to get. I don't think it's going to get much different to that. I was hoping it would go a bit more transparent, but there we go. I did actually earlier today do another test. The bit on the left side here is just the transparent water, and the bit on the right is again with even less paint mixed into it, and it is drying in different rates, as you can no doubt see on there. So I think it just takes longer if you put more things in it. So yeah, I'm going to add another layer to that while I wait and see what the second test is doing. So basically I'm doing the same as I did before, just getting some of this out. I'm not going to go so thick this time, and I'm not going to paint it at all. I'm just going to use the transparent water effect and just basically try and get some coverage all the way across, getting rid of, hopefully, all of the marks from it. Put a little bit more in. That's as much as I'm going to be using for this layer. Hopefully that will dry for tomorrow night, and I'll be able to add a third layer and see how that looks. I'm not planning on doing more than 3 or 4 layers total on the actual diorama itself, so I'm hoping that this will be a good indication of how it's going to look, even though the colour is a bit too bold. But there you go, that's another coat of that done, which I'll leave to dry. That one I'm going to leave to dry till tomorrow as well, before I do another coat on both sides of that and see how that looks. But it might be that I'm not going to be able to go with colouring it, because I'm not quite happy with the way it's come out. So I'll leave that there, and see you in another day. Well, another day, another not quite set. This is obviously the added on layer, which mostly set but still got some white patches on it, so again I'll leave that again. And the new update that I've done, yes, adding ink, adding paint to it definitely affects the drying time. The bit on the left, let's say it was just the transparent water, mostly dried. There's a couple of patches that have still got some white in it, but mostly dried. The other side that I added basically half a drop of blue into isn't quite there. It's starting to dry in some obviously very narrow thin places, but other places aren't. So again, I'll leave it another day and come back to both of them. And 2 days. That's actually not bad at all. That's pretty much what I was hoping to get. I don't think it's going to get any different to that, so it could have been a little bit more evenly distributed, but on a larger surface I think that's probably going to be okay. Judging by the other side, it's probably not fully dried yet anyway, but that is again actually not too bad. The white goes with it quite well. I'm going to add another layer to each of those and come back in a day, or possibly 2. Well, another day and not much happening. I figured it would take longer to dry. I put in a slightly thicker layer, so I'm just going to put these aside and see how they get on. But I am experimenting with another product. Basically it's a glue, Mod Podge, but I've been told that it dries clear and is a very good substitute. So I've got 2 more test pieces. This one, obviously I've painted the underside brown. I did on this one as well, and this has got just a poured out a bit. It's a bit more liquid than the actual water effects, so I'm just going to basically see how it goes. I'm just going to pop that bubble that's there and that one that's there. I'm going to see how it goes, and with this one I'm going to do the same but add in some colour. I'm going to put in some blue again, because I would like the bottom layer to be a bit blue. So this is, as I say, a more liquid than the other. So basically, again, I'm just putting in, oh, too much. I'm trying it without getting it to go absolutely everywhere. So that's that, and let's just put in, say, half a drop and see how that works, if it works. No idea. Obviously, being a glue rather than an actual product, and a bigger area, that's a lot lighter colour than the other one. I deliberately left the side of this clear as well, so I'm going to be covering the entire area there. Looks like the brown wasn't quite dry, so I'll scruff that up a bit. Oh well. It'll all add to the randomness of it. So I don't know how long this will take to dry. I've got to put it aside again for the day really, and we'll come back and see how it looks. But it's a cheaper way of doing it than the official AK stuff. It might be messier, there seems to be bits everywhere, but as ever, I'll leave it aside for another day. 4 things there to keep an eye on, and I'll update you, well, for you, momentarily. Well, that's another couple of days down, and yeah, the original water gel transparent still hasn't sort of set properly. There's still a lot of white in there, although it's solid and set. So I don't know if temperature has a bearing on it or anything like that. So it's also developed a lot of air bubbles in this top layer for some reason. Then I don't know if that's anything to do with the environment, or I haven't had them in anything ever. They've just been sitting exposed on the bench. But I did put a much thicker layer on that, so that's probably going to take longer for that to dry through. But the Mod Podge is actually not bad at all. The one that I had a very faint blue sheen to it has got a very faint blue sheen to it. Probably would have gone a little bit heavier and thicker than that, and that should probably be okay. So I left the white bit on the end there so you can see the colour change. Again, it's not completely set yet, it's still got some white in it. So, and the other one, again, where it's a thicker edge, is still quite white, but the other bit has dried pretty clear. So I think I'm going to be going with the Mod Podge to begin with, for the main base layers, and then maybe the top layer with the, in theory, better quality water gel, and then I'll play around with the foam on the top. But I think that's pretty much as I'm going to be showing you at the moment. I think it's going to get clearer as I leave it to dry, but this has already been going on for over a week in my time, so that's as long as I'm going to put towards this. I'll start playing with the rest of it and getting it together at some point. But as ever, thanks for watching. I hope you've learnt something. I know I've learnt some more about these materials than I knew before I started. So yeah, as ever, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the channel and subscribe and follow me. Come back for more, and we'll all learn together. Thank you. Goodbye.